With Darian DeVries off to Indiana, that means Ren Baker is in the hunt for a new basketball coach to oversee the West Virginia men's team. And in this episode of Hoops from the Hills, which is brought to you by Appalachia Digital, I'm going to talk about who my top 5 candidates are to replace Darian DeVries, give you the pros and cons of each one, and which one is my top candidate. So stick around and we'll talk about that right after this word from my sponsor. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out appalachiadigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. I also want to thank them for supporting my work here at Couz's Corner and at Hoops from the Hills. Now let's get back to the show. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Hoops from the Hills. Thank you for tuning into the show. Let's jump right into the episode. Who are my top 5 candidates to replace Darian DeVries as the head basketball coach for the West Virginia Mountaineers? Well, let's go ahead and start with, and I'm not going in any particular order until we get to the end. The last one on this list is my favorite for the job. So outside of that, there's no particular order. But the number one guy, and it's one everybody's talking about, and that's none other than Ben McCollum. Ben McCollum is the current coach of Drake. He's been there one season. He led Drake to a 30-3 record. Now, we all know that's where Darian DeVries came from. Ben McCollum replaced Darian DeVries at Drake. It's his only season coaching Division I basketball, but he has succeeded, 30-3. He also has a connection to Ren Baker. They worked together at Northwest Missouri State while Ren Baker was the AD there. Ben McCollum is best known for his success at Northwest Missouri State at the Division II level where he coached for, I think it was about 15 years. In that time, he won 4 national championships at the Division II level. 4. And over his career, his entire coaching career, he's won 82% of his games, folks. 82%. He has a record of 422 and 94 as a head basketball coach. That's the resume for Ben McCollum. And don't be surprised if you see him at the top of a lot of hot boards because of his connection to Ren and because of his coaching success. And now that he does have at least 1 year experience at the at the Division I level. Next on my list, Jared Calhoun. Most of us know Jared Calhoun from his days as an assistant under Bob Huggins. He was under Bob Huggins from 2008 to 2012, serving in various roles, finally being an assistant coach on that staff before moving on and getting his own job. His first job was the coach at Fairmont State, right down the road in West Virginia. He went 124-38 as the coach at Fairmont State and was actually the national runner-up in 2017 at the Division II level. He has a career coaching record of 268 and 150, which is a 64% winning percentage. After leaving, and that's overall. After leaving Fairmont State, he went on to coach at Youngstown State. So he moved up one level from Division II up to in football, we would call an FCS level. He was at Youngstown State for 7 years and compiled a record of 118 and 106. The cool thing about his trajectory at Youngstown State is he got a little bit better every year. His very first season there, they only won 8 games. But he got a little better every year. And by the time he finished out at Youngstown State, he finished with 2 straight 20-plus win seasons. And in the 22-23 season, they won the Horizon League Championship. So he was successful at Youngstown State in building that program. After building the Youngstown State program, he spent the last season as the head coach at Utah State. He went 26-6 at Utah State over in the Mountain West Conference and took the Aggies to the NCAA tournament. The downside to Jared Calhoun, to me, he's an alum of Cincinnati. Yes, he has connections to West Virginia, but if they hire him, the Cincinnati job, look, Wes Miller, some fans in Cincinnati think Wes Miller has underachieved there. Cincinnati job could come open in the next 1 to 2 years. And if he comes to West Virginia and has a great success, would he leave West Virginia to go to Cincinnati? Now, I don't know how much Ren Baker how much importance he'll put on that, but as fans, I know we don't want to go through that again. That's really the only knock I have on Calhoun. Now, if I'm Ren Baker, I'm also looking at his ties to Bob Huggins. Do I want to stay completely away from anybody with any ties to Bob Huggins? Or am I cool with him having ties to Bob Huggins? That's something that Ren Baker will have to decide. Personally, I have no issue with it. but you don't know what Ren Baker's going to think. Do they want Bob Huggins' footprint or handprint, rather, thumbprint on that program? And is that a risk if you hire somebody like Jared Calhoun? I would like to think no, because he's been his own coach now for what? 12, 13 years. So I would think he's doing his own thing and wouldn't let Huggins interfere. And I'm not sure that Huggins would interfere. But is it a risk if you hire Jared Calhoun? It's something to think about. Number 3 on the list, and again, this is in no particular order until we get to the end, but this is Nico Medved. Nico Medved is currently the head coach at Colorado State. Now, there's an interesting connection here. Nico Medved's wife apparently is from Morgantown. So would his wife want to move back home? That's a possibility. Nico Medved himself is an alum of Minnesota. We all know the Minnesota job's open, and Medved has been connected to that job in various rumors online. Is he the top candidate for that job? Don't know. But Nico Medved's overall coaching record is 219 and 172 for a 56% winning percentage. Started off a little slower in his coaching career. He spent 4 years at Furman, then a year at Drake before moving on to Colorado State. Most of his success, though, has been at Colorado State. In his 7 years at Colorado State, he has 5 20-plus win seasons. 5 20-plus win seasons for Colorado State. That's pretty darn good. He has a career record of 140 and 84. I'm sorry, a record at Colorado State, rather, of 140 and 84, which is he's won 63% of his games there. And this past season, he went 23 and 9 and was able to get Colorado State into the NCAA tournament. 4th on the list, and this is one a lot of West Virginia fans are clamoring for, and definitely several players on the West Virginia's roster, is most notably Sincere Harris, who has come out openly in favor of this move, but that's Chester Frazier. He is currently the associate head coach or assistant to the head coach, whatever that title is. He's basically the next man in line, or was the next man in line behind Darian DeVries. He's been an assistant coach at the P4 level since 2012 and was a GA for a few years before that. His stops have been at Kansas State, Virginia Tech, and his last stop before coming to Morgantown was at Illinois, which is his alma mater, which is where he got his start in coaching as well, under Bruce Weber, who then took him with him to Kansas State. He then left Kansas State to go to Virginia Tech, and then from Virginia Tech, he coached under Brad Underwood at Illinois for a couple years, and then came to West Virginia, where he got the associate head coach role. Chester Frazier is known as one of the top assistants in the country. He's one of the top recruiters in the country. Very well connected in that DMV area of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And if the plus to hiring Chester Frazier, you would probably keep most of the roster together, at least most of the underclassmen. But how many guys is that? What is it, 5? And yes, those guys are critical, and you'd like to have that base to build on. But you cannot make a long-term decision like a head coach hire based on a roster for 1 year, especially in the portal era when guys can leave anyway after a year. So you want to make sure if you do bring Chester Frazier in, he can build a program. Do you think he can build a program, or is he just going to be a flash in the pan guy who is a hot recruiter for 1 or 2 years? You know, you got to look at everything. The knock, obviously, no head coaching experience. And Ren Baker typically likes to hire people with head coaching experience. Because of that, in my opinion, I doubt Chester Frazier has a shot. That's a job, but I do think he at least deserves an interview just so he can lay his plan out in front of Ren Baker and let Ren know what he is capable of doing and what his vision is for the program. Now, this last name on my list is my top choice for the job, and it's kind of controversial, and that's Will Wade. Now, Will Wade is currently the coach at McNeese. He's been at McNeese the last 2 years. He's led into a 57-10 record with 2 straight conference championships and 2 straight NCAA tournament appearances. His career coaching record overall, though, he is 253 and 106. That's a 71% winning percentage. That is the second highest winning percentage of all four head coaches on this list, behind only Ben McCollum. But his entire career, Will Wade's, has been spent at the Division I level. Most notably, the 5 years he spent at LSU, where he went 105 and 51, which is a 67% winning percentage. Now, there's an asterisk beside that because he did get in trouble while at LSU for recruiting violations. He was allegedly paying recruits. That ended up getting him fired. Now, before that, he spent 2 years at Chattanooga and VCU, where he also had success, 2 years each at those stops. And the one knock that you could have on Will Wade is that he is under a show cause but because of the trouble he got in at LSU, he is still under a show cause until I think June or July this year is what I read. So I'm not exactly sure when the cutoff date of that is, but he would not be able to recruit until sometime later this year. Now, it doesn't mean his assistants can't recruit, right? And I'm not sure the details of that show cause, but would Ren Becker be willing to take that risk? Would he be willing to take a risk on somebody like a Will Wade who has that show cause? My personal opinion, it's worth it. Again, this is a long-term play. Are you willing to sacrifice a couple months of a guy not being able to recruit on the road or do whatever he can't do? If for a long-term decision here, I think if you're the school who takes a chance on Will Wade, maybe he'll show you some loyalty here, right? Maybe you'll have a guy who won't leave for the first job that comes along that offers him more money or the first quote-unquote dream job. Maybe he won't because he'll be faithful to you for giving him that chance. I'm all about giving Will Wade a chance again at the P4 level. Remember, the stuff he got in trouble for the most part, is legal now. Now, it doesn't make what he did right because it was breaking the rules at the time. But Will Wade has shown he's an awesome recruiter. He's obviously shown he's a great coach by what he's done in all of his stops. All 4 of his stops, he's been phenomenal. I mean, heck, he won, what I say, 67% of his games at LSU. And I know you're going to say, but Couz, he was cheating. A lot of coaches cheat and still don't win 67% of their games. And you look over history, all the coaches that have gotten in trouble for quote unquote cheating or recruiting violations, they didn't always win that many games. Will Wade, in my opinion, is a superstar coach. I'm a guy who believes in second chances. I think you give Will Wade a chance. You bring him into Morgantown. He's still a fairly young guy. I think he's only in his 50s. I think it's worth a shot here. West Virginia needs to hit a home run with this hire. And I think Will Wade is that guy. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think Will Wade's the guy? Or is there another name you'd like to see on the list? Let me know. And before anybody, I know somebody's going to say this in the comments, and that's fine. But I am not, look, I love Bob Huggins. I think he's done great for West Virginia. I think at some point in the future, he deserves a statue outside the Coliseum, maybe even have the court named after him. I'm all for that. But I am not a fan of bringing Bob Huggins back. Bob Huggins is in his early 70s. The last few years of his run at West Virginia were not all that great. I think he missed the NCAA tournament a couple times in like the last 5 years. He'd only won like 2 conference road games the last couple of years he was at West Virginia. I mean, Bob Huggins was not winning at the same level the last few years at West Virginia that he was early in his career. And I think that matters. I don't even care about the DUI and all that stuff. I've forgiven him for all that. But I don't think Bob Huggins is the answer. I don't think he's the future of the West Virginia program. But if you feel that way, that's perfectly fine. You can put it in the comment section. Will Wade is my guy. I think that's the first guy you call. And again, without being in the room in the interviews, I'm willing to overlook the show calls, which will be ending soon, and I'm willing to bring him in. But I want to know what you think. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. It's a like. It really helps get this video out to more people, helps that algorithm. Please subscribe to the channel here at Hoops from the Hills. It'll help me get my numbers up and hopefully help me get to my next goal of 3,000 subscribers. Don't forget my brand new website, wvsportschat.com. There's an article over there which covers a few other names other than the ones I covered today in this video, so go check it out. And you can hit me up on Twitter at hoops_hills304. I'd love to interact with you. With that being said, I really appreciate you tuning into this episode. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless, and Q Country Roads.